This week, our journey in Hong Kong finally comes to an end and we begin the very long overnight journey back home. From the energy of the city to the quiet of the departure gate, it's time to see how Lufthansa handles one of its longest routes from Hong Kong to Frankfurt. Well, welcome to this week's video. Some of you might know instantly where I am, some of you might not. This is the iconic checkerboard hill in Hong Kong, the visual aid used by pilots landing into the now infamous Kai Tak International Airport, which of course closed in 1998. Lots of regeneration going on down there. In fact, we actually nipped down there yesterday, so I'll show you a bit more of that shortly. But this week, where are we headed? Back home. Pretty much home anyway. We're flying back to Frankfurt, which is as close as we could get to London, with Lufthansa aboard their Airbus A350. Now, there's a bit of a sad tale to this, because when I booked this flight, it was supposed to be a Queen of the Skies, Boeing 747. That's now no longer, and instead we're flying on the Airbus A350. It would have been pretty cool to fly back on the 747, especially because Kai Tak was renowned for so many jumbo jets landing, and of course, all aiming for this checkerboard hill approach. And here we are, back at Kai Tak, and it's so strange to walk around here knowing that not so long ago, wide bodies skimmed the rooftops just meters above where people now live their everyday lives. Where there are benches and cycle tracks today, there were taxiways, holding points, and crews preparing for one of the most demanding landings in commercial aviation. Kai Tak has a new life now. Apartment blocks where terminals once stood, sky gardens tracing the edge of what used to be concrete and tarmac, joggers following paths that once guided aircraft in on final approach. Kai Tak hasn't disappeared. It's simply been absorbed back into the city. Down here at ground level, it feels almost anonymous. Just another stretch of concrete, another forgotten corner. But in 1998, this was a place of movement, noise, precision and possibility. Thousands of journeys ended and began right here. And with that in mind, it feels only right that we do the same. So, let's get this journey started back to Frankfurt with Lufthansa in economy aboard their Airbus A350. So welcome to Chep Lak Kok, Hong Kong's international airport. Husband here proving a point. I mean, come on. He has to carry two cases sometimes, but he's more than capable, bless him. If you are departing with Lufthansa Airlines from Hong Kong, then you want to go to Zone F upon arrival at Hong Kong's international airport. That's where you'll find all the check-in and backdrop areas. If you do get stuck, why not consult Hong Kong Airport's new AI ambassador? I'm not sure how I feel about this. I think I much prefer a good old-fashioned human conversation. So sailed through the airport, found Zone F, which is where the Lufthansa check-in is, and the desks aren't open at the moment. So I've spoken to a member of staff. There is a couple of staff milling around here representing Lufthansa, and they've said the desks will open at 8 p.m. So we depart 23:45. So, you know, it's nice that they're open not just 3 hours before, nearly 4 hours before, 3 hours 45 for bag drop and check-in. So we're just stood in line at the moment. This is the economy line, and then behind me, business class and first. And then we'll get checked in and head to the lounge, and quite a good selection of lounges through Priority Pass here at Hong Kong. Anyhow, it was time for us to check in, and yes, I absolutely nailed the packing again. Our economy tickets had a 23kg checked baggage limit each, which is fairly standard, and we were checked all the way through to London Heathrow. Check out next week's video for the short haul leg. After heading through security, it was time for us to take the internal transfer train again to gates 40 through 80 in order to visit the lounge. So on the hunt for tonight's Priority Pass lounge, which is going to be the Chase Sapphire Lounge, and I've heard really good things about this. Now, recently there was some news that this lounge is closing, I still don't know personally whether it's just closing and not going to reopen or if it's closing for refurbishment. I don't know. Haven't really done my research, quite naughty of me, but I'm not too sure if that's been announced yet, so drop me some comments below if you know anything that I don't. But we're going to go and try and get in this lounge because I've heard really positive things. As we waited to enter, the future of the Chase Sapphire Lounge was available to see, and it was sadly indeed set to close on the 5th of January, which means for you, it's now a thing of the past. After checking in, we took a lounge tour, and it has lots of different seating areas, from informal to formal. There's a lovely bar with all-inclusive signature cocktails, non-alcoholic beverages, and spirits too. And yes, you know me, I couldn't turn down a cocktail or two. There's also a free pour Coca-Cola machine, a variety of fruit juices and milks, teas from Twinings, an automated coffee machine, and still hot and cold filtered water. There was a cold buffet of salads, meats, cheeses, fresh fruit, noodles and desserts, yes, quite an amalgamation, alongside more salads, cakes, bar snack items like pretzels and nuts, Belgian waffles, a variety of fresh fruit from apples to pears and oranges, and a help yourself cheese board with crackers and nibbles. There were 2 types of soup on offer and also a variety of hot meals available, including a Thai green chicken curry, stir-fried vegetables, and a penne with cream and mushroom sauce. Finally, there was also mushroom and pork siumai dumplings available, so not a bad selection, to be fair. So we're on the move. We've got a gate 27, but not announced for boarding yet. We've got about 95 to 100 minutes. Look at me being so precise in airline minutes to go before we board. So we've seen that at gate 23 there's a lounge called Kyra Lounge that's won a couple of awards. So we get access in there. I'm hoping it's not going to be too busy. And we'll go and give you a sneak preview of that lounge as well before boarding our flight back to Frankfurt. So stopped by at the Kyra Lounge as promised. It is very, very busy. It shuts at 11 o'clock, so we've got about 45 minutes before it closes, and then we're going to head down to our gate to board. But the food quality and selection here seems to be a little bit better than what the Chase Sapphire Lounge were putting out. So there we go for a little win for you. So if you are flying from Hong Kong, you do have priority pass, get yourself down to the Kyra Lounge. It's near gate 23, and highly recommend a stopover. There's a really nice floating bar in the middle of the lounge with alcoholic drinks, cocktails, things like that, all made up on demand, and lots of food, both Western and Asian style too. So yeah, appreciate this isn't a full comprehensive lounge review like I normally do, but yeah, thought I'd give you a quick brief tour and show you what to expect if you come into the Kyra Lounge. We then headed to the gate and queued accordingly, with us being in group 4 this evening. After a strict boarding process, much to Lufthansa's credit, we were down the air bridge and boarding this A350 back to Frankfurt. We walked through business and premium economy to find our seats on row 16. So all aboard the Lufthansa A350-900, taking us back to Frankfurt on this very long overnight red-eye flight. And sometimes you make a decision, you know, prior to flying or prior to booking your flight, or after you've booked it, like we did, paid that £100 per seat selection fee that Lufthansa charged for the row 16. And yeah, my goodness me, has it paid off. This seat is great for legroom. It is better legroom than premium economy. So if you find yourself on a long flight with Lufthansa on the A350, row 16, double check, 2 seats together, you will be impressed. But let me take you on a full seat tour, and then we'll get this journey back to Frankfurt underway. The seat comes with a leather fabric headrest, a blue woven blanket, and rather large soft white and yellow pillow. There's underseat AC power and a storage pocket with safety card and literature. There's also additional storage in the middle of the seats. The aisle seat has the IFE stored in the housing of the seat, and it's released like this. whereas the window seat has a conventional IFE screen in the back of the seat in front. The seats do recline by quite a good amount. There's also a manual window blind too, and no bulkhead, just a fabric divider between premium economy and economy. We then received a dining menu and pack of earphones too.
I'm your captain on this flight to Frankfurt, and I welcome you on behalf of the entire crew on board Airbus 350. Loading is still in progress, will take about another 10 minutes, then we're ready to depart from Hong Kong Airport. My colleagues in the cockpit today, Mr. Sebastian Humann and Mr. Tobias Landsberger, and I wish you a very pleasant stay on board.
It was then time for us to push back and head into the sky. So all in the climb towards Frankfurt. Apologies in advance for that, well not in advance because you've already seen it, but apologies for that really poor take-off shot with all those reflections. Again, it is quite difficult sometimes when crew don't dim the lights fully. Some airlines do go, full dark, British Airways being a fine example. Others, like Lufthansa, keep these, hello, husband's there, keep these sort of lights on, 25%, which really affects the A350 windows because of the size of them. There's so much glare and reflection off them. So we're all up in the climb now, headed out of Jet Blackcock back towards Frankfurt. 13 hours is our flight time this evening, but this extra space, this extra legroom really is an absolute winner. It's going to make so much difference, I can tell. Space is the key to comfortable flight. Hence why sometimes you've just got to bite the bullet and pay for it. We received a full 500ml bottle of still hot-boiled water and a packet of Ritz-style Lufthansa branded crackers. So I've bumped into the B seats, just to give the husband a bit more space because the A seat underneath the armrest is clear, wherever the B side has that kind of metal, which means you kind of can't get your leg underneath the armrest. Now, it doesn't really restrict me, to be fair, and I'm quite a large guy, so I wouldn't say it's anything to consider, but being the extremely good, hospitable husband that I am, I've jumped over to the B seat to give him a bit more space, and he's now reclining, trying to get a bit of sleep. So yeah, all in all, no major complaints aboard Lufthansa. Just one thing to mention is it is incredibly hot on board, and it has been since we boarded. Normally when the APU kicks in and the engines start, you get the aircon kicking in, but that's not been the case on this at all. It has been really, really warm. Quite a lot of passengers around us getting out either handheld fans or, as we have, the old-fashioned safety card to keep us cool. But I'm hoping as time goes on, the cabin temperature will lower a bit, and I might just ask the crew if they could maybe turn it down slightly just to get a bit of aircon into the cabin. So just sitting and waiting for our service to start. We've had a bottle of water, a very generous 500ml bottle of still water given to each passenger, and a packet of crackers, slightly boring kind of amuse-bouche, we'll call it. Lots of other interesting things it could be, but nevertheless it was salted crackers, very similar to Ritz crackers in their texture and taste. So As always, I'll keep you posted with what happens next. We're just going to kick back and relax a bit, and I feel that the meal service should start probably in the next 10 to 15 minutes, and I'll show you what we get. So I had every intention of showing you the IFE on board here, but it seems we're sort of encountering a few technical difficulties. The IFE screen in front of Frank has gone completely blank and won't respond to anything. Nothing is turning it on, it's just completely a blank screen, which is odd because when we boarded it was showing the map. So I think there's an issue since that circuit of pre-recorded stuff has stopped. And mine just says please wait, and has said please wait since we tried it before departure, and safety video didn't play on it, and it's just said please wait ever since. So, you know, not a great start. Gonna have to flag that with the crew, because I was going to give you a full IFE tour. The IFE does look quite nice. It's a nice size. It's very thin and looks to be pretty crisp from the other IFE monitors that I can see. So I was hoping to run through that with you, but at this moment in time, I can't. Anyway, all that aside, dinner service has begun, so I will show you momentarily what we have. We then encountered a further issue. My tray table worked fine, but my husband's was broken and slanted strongly to the left. So, the meal service concluded. Let's run through how it was, and don't hold your breath, I think is probably the best thing to say on this. Not in a horrible way, more in a constructive way. The starter was an orzo pasta salad with peas. It was cold, flavourless, bland. Again, couscous, seeded pasta starters never work. They don't travel well. They don't taste good. Often bland. I don't know why airlines pin so many hopes on and put all their eggs in one basket with these kind of appetizers, because they're just not good. Main course was a choice, so you could have a fusilli pasta in tomato sauce with diced bell peppers and cheese, a kind of pasta dish, or a barbecue pork ribs with rice and choice sum. So my husband went for the barbecue pork ribs and said they were pretty good, to be fair, tender, it broke away, quite nice, good meat. Rice was a little bit overdone, but you know, it was okay, and the choice sum, you know, just a bit of added vegetable, but nothing really to write home about. I went for the fusilli pasta, and it was massively overdone, almost sort of mashy texture, really, really overdone pasta. The sauce in itself was quite nice. It was a sort of fresh sauce, not a sweet tomato sauce. So all in all, it was kind of a mixed bag on that dish. Dessert was a bowl of fresh fruit, again served over hard because of the temperature. They haven't sort of brought it up to room temperature before serving it. Again, a common trend, a common theme with these fruit bowls. And there was also a pack of Chinese cookies, 2 cookies in a pack, and they were okay. There was also a bread roll, a pretzel roll, German-style pretzel roll with a pack of President butter, which is, you know, the best butter going. Husband yet to tuck into his, but the President butter, you know my thoughts on that. Unsalted President butter, the best in the world. And that was basically it. Metal cutlery, points for Lufthansa on that, points for Lufthansa on the President butter, but ultimately not a great meal at all. Husband in 16A, which would have been my seat, sort of regretting swapping now. The tray table is damaged, so it sits at an angle, so his drink slid off and nearly spilt all down him, and it's made it quite difficult and uncomfortable for him to eat dinner. He's had to sort of prop it up with his left leg, his left knee, to keep the table flat. Not good when you've paid just over £200 for 2 seats. On the IFE front, still not working, and I sometimes, I really hope I come across transparent. I hope that you don't think I'm just sat here making things up to prove it to you. It's still not working. And it's just stuff like this that you think, where the disconnect comes for a customer is when things like this start to happen. If we'd been given these seats, it still wouldn't be great, but the fact you've paid quite a hefty premium for them, and you have issues like this, you don't expect that. So Not a great meal service, nothing major to write home about, with the exception of that pork rib dish, which was, semi-good, and the President butter, and the metal cutlery. Points for those. Everything else a bit disappointing. And yeah, just not what you come to expect from an airline like Lufthansa. It is a flagship carrier. They fly the flag for Germany, and it's not what you expect. Certainly not what I expected anyway. On the Wi-Fi front, free messaging services like WhatsApp and iMessage were provided, and if you wanted to upgrade the service, you could do so for €15 for 2 hours or €25 for the entire flight. Please promise me though, never use miles to pay for services like this. It really is an awful redemption rate. So that's the meal service concluded. The cabin crew did a 2 rotational service, so the first set of crew were doing coffee, tea and top-ups or drinks, and that was preceded by another set of crew bringing in the empty trays and clearing in the empties, etc. So when I used to fly, I used to do my pre-flight briefings. I used to say to the crew, you never know anyone's circumstances, you never know how much somebody's paid for the flight, and you never know the reason why they're flying. Not everything is leisure and pleasure. And I used to say, look, keep an eye on everybody as best you can, and the tiny noticeable things that you see, act upon. So if you see something, deal with it, without being prompted, without being asked. And there seems to be, and I'm sad to say it, a distinct lack of that on Lufthansa. A lady in front of me to the right in premium economy asked for her tray to be cleared quite early on because she wanted to get some sleep, and that was kind of met with a little bit of sort of hesitance. And while I appreciate, yes, if 200 people are asking you to clear their trays in a bit early, then it can create some kind of service flow issues. But ultimately, in the midst of everything that's going on a flight, taking a tray table in 5 minutes earlier is not the end of the world. So just things like that I've noticed where little bits have been missed, and like my husband was wafting himself with the safety card to cool himself down. I would expect a cabin crew member at that point to say, "Are you hot? Is there anything we can do for you?" And that didn't happen. So like when people don't complete their meal and send a full tray table back, I would always offer something else or snacks or something, because I don't want people going hungry, and again, a distinct lack of that. So, interesting. Anyhow, in the interest of keeping the spirits up and everything light, I'm going to recline the seat and try and get a bit of sleep. And I'll catch up with you guys and let you know whether it's been successful or a bit of a failure. But I'm hoping it's the former, not the latter. Well, hello there. Bit of a discreet update. I'm not going to put the lights on above me just to avoid waking everybody up around me, so we're going old-fashioned with a bit of husband studio lighting. Until it all goes wrong. There we go, I'm back. So I've had 8 hours solid sleep. It is probably one of, if not the best, sleeps I've ever had in economy, and I can't say otherwise, to be fair. It really has been exceptional. The legroom and the space in row 16 is going to be your best friend if you're flying on the A350 with Lufthansa. It really is exceptional. Yeah, it's great. Just being able to stretch out in front of you with nothing at all in front of you. The lady in front in premium economy has reclined the seat, and it doesn't even encroach remotely on my space or my husband's space. It's absolutely fantastic. So no complaints at all from our side. It is just an exceptionally good sleep. Now, obviously with that positive comes those negatives. The IFE is still not working. We have had it reset and it's not working. So we've basically come to the conclusion now that this is just not gonna work. So we're reliant on updates from fellow passengers or crew as to where we are. And my husband's just gone down the back and found out that we're over northern Turkey. So we've got about, off the top of my head, about 3, maybe 4 hours to go of the flight left before we touch down into Frankfurt. At the moment in time, feel pretty decent, to be fair, especially considering this is a really long overnight red-eye. Was going into this not looking forward to it, but actually it's not been too uncomfortable. The food obviously earlier was quite disappointing, and the IFE and my husband's broken tray table, those are considerations to take into fact, considering that we paid over £200 for the seats. But I'll pick up with Lufthansa after that, and if they resolve it before I put this video out, I'll let you know what they did to put it right. But the crew have been, semi-apologetic, so these things happen. Sleep was the priority on this one, and I think with the fact that my husband's turning his phone off, that tells me I probably should try and get another hour. Catch up with you in a bit. So that's the breakfast service concluded, and as is the industry norm at the minute, as you've been seeing from most of my economy flights, it's eggs. So we had no choice of breakfast, it was just one breakfast. Premium economy did have a choice. They had an omelette or a set of pancakes, which sounded quite nice, to be fair. Pancakes are always a winner, in my opinion, for breakfast. I don't know why they're not served in economy more often, but for us in economy, slumming it down the back, it is just one breakfast. So we were served the eggs with ratatouille, broccoli and roast potatoes, and as I'm sure you can guess, it was very, very poor, average eggs. Again, sloppy, just not a great consistency. Roast potatoes just overdone. It's never good, is it? And it's not even necessarily a dig at Lufthansa now, it's just become an industry kind of, not a joke, because that sounds like I'm making light of it. It's an important and quite serious issue, really. It's the only time passengers can be really quite critical, because they've got the time to be critical, and that's with the food. So it has to be right. And you've got airlines that are churning out breakfast, and it's just eggs or bread and jam, or we've regressed. If you look at some of the services in the 70s and 80s and what people were getting for breakfast then, we should be ahead of that now, but we've gone back in time and got worse as the decades have passed. So yeah, not a great breakfast, to be fair. With the breakfast though was a bread roll, a white bread roll, served with butter, President butter again, a big tick from me, Lufthansa, and a pack of strawberry jam. And then there was a Nestle blueberry yogurt, which, after my husband pointed out, the main ingredient was water, followed by a blueberry sauce and lots of other weird things. You'd expect the number one ingredient in a yogurt to be milk, but it wasn't. So again, sloppy, watery, not a great yogurt, to be fair. So yeah, the breakfast experience has been quite underwhelming on Lufthansa, but this is not necessarily even a dig at Lufthansa, it's just become quite underwhelming in economy across the board, really. And I want to come across an airline like Hawaiian who do something different. You remember that? If you haven't seen the video, go and watch it. But they served essentially an egg McMuffin, sausage and egg McMuffin, and it's great. It's tasty. The eggs actually work because they're part of the dish, not slopped on the side like some scrambled eggs. And I want to see more airlines do imaginative things. They can do it in premium with the pancakes. You can bring something at the same cost level, the same cost base, down into economy easily. When I used to fly between LA and London with Air New Zealand, when Air New Zealand had that flagship NZ1 route, before they closed the base, they used to serve a wicked mixed berry pancakes in economy. And it was 3 pancakes, maple syrup, berry sauce, a little bit of vanilla mascarpone sauce on the side. Absolutely exceptional breakfast. Everybody loved it. It went on for, I think it stayed on the menu for about 3 years. It was really, really good. But this is just, underwhelming and not what people want to eat. So yeah, that was our breakfast experience aboard Lufthansa. We've got about just under an hour 45 to go now before we touch down into Frankfurt. Looking forward to getting on the ground. We've got about 4 hours in Lufthansa transit time, so we're going to try and get into their lounge, because as part of Global Lounge Collection with American Express, we get access to the Lufthansa lounges with our boarding pass as long as we're on a ticketed Lufthansa flight. So yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting into Frankfurt, chilling out, hopefully grabbing a shower, and I'll catch up with you guys then. Finally, it was time to check the toilets, and my visit happened around the 8-hour mark after I woke up from that sleep. They were all clean with no visible defects. My husband then checked them again prior to landing and said they were well stocked with no complaints. When my husband finally returned to his seat before landing, the A-seat IFE miraculously sprung to life. This points to some kind of freezing or software issue, but it was pretty frustrating that it finally did start to work. It was, however, frozen on the moving map and locked, so I couldn't access anything else to show you the features.
Ladies and gentlemen, your captain, we are already proceeding course to Frankfurt Airport. Weather at Frankfurt, cloudy sky, light wind, temperature at the freezing point. Therefore, I would like to say goodbye to you at this time. I hope you enjoyed this flight with us, and I wish you a very nice day.
This one was a difficult experience to sum up. In terms of the seat, the space and overall sleep quality, it was genuinely second to none. Probably the best example of a Bulkhead extra legroom seat I've ever experienced. That said though, the food and service felt a little sterile and lacklustre, not quite the shining example of German hospitality we were hoping for. Of course, I'd much rather it be this way around than the other, but ultimately it should feel like a cohesive, entirely positive experience from start to finish. Let's see what next week holds as we connect through Frankfurt and head on to Heathrow for the final leg of this 10,000 plus kilometre journey. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Now feels like the perfect moment to ask, if you're enjoying the adventures so far, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and come along for the ride with a growing community of fellow travellers.